Anxiety affects 1.5% of the American population each year, which is about 3.3 million people. Anxiety disorders also coincide with other mental illnesses such as depression. So when anxiety coincides with other mental illnesses, it makes it harder for recovery and treatment to be effective because there's more than one problem. Instead of just dealing with anxiety, there's other issues as well. There's three main types of anxiety: panic disorder, generalized anxiety, and social anxiety. But yeah, it affects my topic. I'm talking about anxiety, and for each different type of anxiety, I'm going to talk about their symptoms, their psychological causes, and their treatment. The three different types of anxiety are generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder, and social anxiety disorder. The general definition of anxiety is a fear or nervousness about what might happen. People with anxiety never stop worrying, and it interferes with their daily activities such as school, work, and relationships. So yeah. Generalized anxiety, the first one I'm going to talk about, is the most popular among Americans. It affects the most people. The symptoms for generalized anxiety are restlessness, easily fatigued, difficulty concentrating on daily activities in the workplace or at home, irritability from people around them, muscle tension, and inability to sleep because they are worrying about what is going on in their other life, and so they can't relax or fall asleep. The psychological causes, genes are 37% responsible, so it's a genetic disorder for the most part. Environmental factors such as stress and trauma are also heavily involved. So if there's a big stressful life situation that happens, or if the person has a big traumatic event they go through, they're more likely to have generalized anxiety after that event or stress. If there's a threat of danger in their, like where they live or in their life, they'll also have anxiety. In a fearful situation, neurons fire to respond to the fearful situation, and after the neurons fire, GABA is released to stop the neurons after the fearful situation is over. And people with generalized anxiety have a low supply of GABA, so in turn, not enough GABA is released for them to relax after the stressful situation is over. The treatment for generalized anxiety, there's a wide variety of options. So you can do talk therapy, where you just talk to a counselor about the issue. Or there's cognitive behavioral therapy, which teaches the patient new behaviors and new ways to react to the situation that's giving them anxiety. There's exposure therapy, which confronts the fears and directly puts them in the situation that gives them anxiety and teaches them how to deal with it by exposing them to the issue. There's also medications. People can take antidepressants and anti-anxiety medicine, but with all the medications comes side effects. Yes.
So how do we know that genes are responsible for 37%? That seems like a very precise number. Do you know how scientists come up with that estimation?
Because in the patient studied with generalized anxiety disorder, 37% of those patients had family, directly parents with they also had generalized anxiety disorder, and so that shows that it was like inherited through their genes, and that's like why they got it. Yes.
What are some examples of fears that lead to anxiety?
So that kind of goes back to the trauma. So let's say you have a traumatic event at a fair, for example, like you get on a roller coaster and it's a traumatic experience. So that would be a situation that you wouldn't want to put yourself back into, because that situation gives you anxiety. And so if you were to think about getting on another ride at the fair, that would give you anxiety, which is an irrational way of thinking about it.
How effective are these various forms of treatment? So are any more effective than others, or is there a sequence to the treatments that you would use?
I think that therapies are more effective, because with medication there comes side effects, and antidepressants could also help with depression, and so there would be side effects for depression and anxiety if you use it for anxiety. And so talk therapy, I feel like psychologically gets you over the problem rather than taking medication.
Cool.
That's how it's done. Patients with social anxiety disorder have also been known to have been bullied during their school years. The same neurotransmitters that were responsible for the other anxiety disorders were also, I don't know what I'm trying to say. The same neurotransmitters that were responsible for the other anxieties are the same ones that are responsible for social anxiety. A combo of genetics and environmental factors are what leads to social anxiety. The treatment for social anxiety is anti-anxiety medications, antidepressants, and talk therapy.
I have a question.
Yes.
What is the difference between social anxiety and being introverted?
Being introverted is more of a quality of personality, and social anxiety is a mental disorder, and so neurotransmitters in your brain actually affect and cause social anxiety. And the symptoms of social anxiety are like sweating and increased heartbeat and feeling nauseous when around other people. And introverted people just prefer to not be around people and don't usually have symptoms or neurotransmitters that are imbalanced in their brain.
I have another question.
I have one.
Sorry, Chase, you can go ahead.
So what does social anatomy mean?
Social anxiety,
Yeah, what does that mean?
it's where you are afraid to be around a lot of people.
I've also noticed in a couple of your slides you talked about something called GABA. Would you explain to us what GABA is?
Alright, I'm going to go back to this where it talks about it. So GABA is a neurotransmitter, and And so there's tons of neurotransmitters in your brain, and one of them is GABA, and some of the neurotransmitters are responsible for, like GABA is responsible for relaxation, and it's the one that it relaxes you. And so whenever you're in like a stress situation, there's not enough GABA firing into your brain, and so that's why you would have a panic attack. Yes.
So, social anxiety. So does it kind of like mean that you're shy to people?
Yes, except with social anxiety, you have like physical, like you start like sweating and your heart starts beating really fast. And whenever you're shy, you usually just like don't really want to go talk to other people, but your heart doesn't beat very fast and you're still like relaxed. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Good questions. Any more questions?
No.
Nope. Okay.
But
That was all I had. You can stop if you want.
All right. Hold on.
here's more source.
So some of these terms up here are very, very scientific. I'm wondering if you could just explain to me what a serotonin, a dopamine, what exactly do these mean?
Okay, so serotonin, dopamine, GABA, and norepinephrine are all neurotransmitters, and every neurotransmitter is different.
What is a neurotransmitter?
It is, so there's neurons in your brain, and that is what sends messages like throughout different parts of your brain to tell your body to do something. And so neurotransmitters are basically smaller neurons that fire to different parts of your brain to tell your brain specifically what to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So serotonin is a neurotransmitter responsible for sleep, mood, and appetite. Dopamine is responsible for energy and attention. GABA is responsible for relaxation, specifically after a anxious encounter that you have. And norepinephrine is your fight or flight, and that is how your body reacts to stress in any kind of situation, not just after a stressful situation, but just in stress in general.
So if these things are out of balance, is it just your body doesn't have enough of one, or is it just being suppressed by something, or both?
It can be both. So with dopamine, your body doesn't have enough dopamine, and so that's why you wouldn't have as much energy and wouldn't be able to pay as much attention when you have anxiety. GABA, your brain doesn't have enough of it because there's not enough GABA being fired after the situation, and so your body can't relax. And norepinephrine is imbalanced, and you don't have enough of that one either because your body can't react properly to stress.
Are there so what are common ways to increase the level of a dopamine in your body? So you mentioned medications. Are there other methods like exercise or diet or?
No, you can't really replace neurotransmitters in your brain. And whenever you take medicine for it, it can either it's either an agonist or an antagonist to block or make it receive more, but you can't create more neurotransmitters.
Interesting.
The three different types of anxiety are general anxiety disorder, panic disorder, and social anxiety. Through doing this project, I have learned what the symptoms, etiology, and treatment of all three disorders entail. The symptoms are all pretty similar. Nervousness. The etiology is also very similar. They all have to do with the four main neurotransmitters, serotonin, GABA, dopamine, and norepinephrine. Those four are what generally affect and give someone anxiety. The treatment for all three of them is also very similar. You can do talk therapy, medication, however the medications do have side effects, and the talk treatment is not always 100% effective, but this is what I've learned throughout doing this project, and I hope you enjoyed the video.